Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the very kind invitation. I have very recently joined the Smart Networks and Services joint undertaking, and it's an honor and a great pleasure to deliver the first speech at 5G Tech Fitori, especially in this reference event of the Nordic and Baltic region, which is home to so much innovation. It is home to some of the most advanced digital societies of the world, and of course, home to one of, or several of the leading innovating companies, vendors, research institutions, academia. So there could not be a better place, I think, to discuss and brainstorm about the challenges of 5G, 6G, and how we should overcome them. Today, I would like to share a few thoughts with you about the European path towards 6G. In particular, perhaps highlight our thinking around the key drivers and strategic priorities that we are trying to address through research and innovation activities for 6G. The ambition level that Europe has set itself, which requires technology breakthroughs, but also very importantly, cooperation and collaboration. And finally, talk a little bit about the setup of the JU, what we are doing, how we are doing it, and perhaps also announce some news. So first of all, the European Commission has already recognized and set up a multi-dimensional framework with regard to the development of next-generation connectivity technologies. It's very important that it should address effectively the needs, requirements, and expectations of society, effectively changing ultimately and improving the daily lives of European citizens. I think the expectations vis-à-vis connectivity have dramatically changed over the last few years and throughout the pandemic. We expect connectivity to be, and services also to be trustworthy, to contribute to sustainability and the Green Deal, to be always accessible and available, which sets, I think, a set of new expectations from society towards technologies, and we need to take this into account in our research activities. We also need to deliver on policy priorities. New technology needs to embed and be based on European values. It has to be secure by design, and also advance the technology sovereignty of Europe. And finally, of course, there needs to be a business opportunity in here for European businesses. So it's very important to foster the creation of new business models, to position and strengthen the position of European companies in the digital global value chain, and of course address some to maintain, but also to strengthen the industrial leadership of European sectors and to develop solutions specifically helping these so-called vertical sectors to become or to remain competitive vis-à-vis their global peers, so to focus on innovations like industrial IoT or connected automotive, for example. At the very center, you can see sustainable development. Sustainability is a very important objective of the entire SNS program, an overarching one, and as you will see in the future, it will also become a flagship in our program. As I said, it's very important that 6G has a societal impact as well. we need to develop a technology that is inclusive, that is accessible to everyone. We should not create a next generation digital divide that is affordable and that really delivers on society's expectations. And last but not least, of course, fostering the technological sovereignty of Europe is a clear strategic priority. So how are we set out to deliver on all of these challenges? Clearly, this level of ambition requires technological breakthroughs and collaboration. So what we do is that we try to foster, early research and innovation activities in, I can't point, in what you see on the top, in the enabling technologies. So in areas related to network architecture, advanced radio access networks, cloudification, edge, native AI, and a holistic view to cybersecurity. And what we also try to do is also develop smart services. So it's called a smart networks and services joint undertaking for a reason. It's very important to develop also use cases, concrete use cases and services from the outset so that we can actually foster the early take-up of these services once 6G becomes a reality. And whilst we are setting out a European approach, we should do this in international collaboration. After all, the digital world is a global world, and our companies and societies need to actually exist and compete in that global world. And a few words about how the Smart Networks and Services joint undertaking is set up. So it is, as you can see on this slide, based on a very inclusive, collaborative approach. First of all, we have a public-private partnership between the JU members, which are the European Commission, and the 6G Industry Association. In this partnership, the industry has a very important voice to actually shape the work program, the strategic direction of the joint undertaking, and of course comes also with a commitment to participate and co-finance the projects, the research projects that we are running. We're also very closely associated with member states. This could not happen without that collaboration where member states are also running their own research initiatives, so we must leverage and collaborate closely together with the member states' representatives, who I believe are somewhere here also in the room. And finally, we need to also work with other partners sort of outside the research and technology bubble, and to create synergies with them. And the forum for that is the so-called stakeholders group. International collaboration is also very important to work, especially on areas which are of mutual interest and benefit, starting, for example, the cooperation with the United States on AI. But also, as you will see on the subsequent slides, it's very important that our project life cycle is aligned with international decision-making processes so that Europe has a real chance to influence the outcome of these international processes. So collaboration and partnership is really the cornerstone of the European path towards 6G. Our projects take a phased approach, 3 particular phases. The first phase is really very much based on the outcomes of the 5GPP process and is building on those innovations and has included projects which took the evolutionary path of 5G. As you can see in phase 1, inclusion of some of the key verticals has been a clear priority, and to help them to actually go beyond 5G in their specifications for service needs. In phase 2, the objective is to develop early systems and also to work together with adjacent areas. 6G will be built upon native AI. There are very important inputs such as microelectronics. So in phase 2, we have designated projects which include these adjacent areas and build upon their research outcomes. As I said on one of my previous slides, sustainability is an overarching objective and a priority throughout the entire life cycle, running up to 2030, where we would like to see full 6G system development. And sustainability is important not only from the perspective of 6G itself as a technology being sustainable, energy efficient, but also 6G becoming the solution to other sectors to become more energy efficient and to become more green and deliver on the Green Deal objectives of the EU. Our processes and phases are also aligned with the 3GPP standardization process, where actually 2025, the start of the standardization process, will be a very important milestone. And our objective is really to help European companies, European researchers, academics, to actually have a voice and shape that standardization process from 2025 onwards, so that global standards also reflect the European values, the European strategic priorities that I have mentioned before. And just to complicate things a little bit further in how actually the research towards 6G really works, our program is divided into 4 distinct streams, over which the EU's upfront commitment is an EU funding envelope of 900 million euros up to 2027. 2, the lighter blue streams of our work are more evolutionary, and streams A and D, and streams B and C are our revolutionary work streams. Stream A, the 5G evolution systems, was quite prevalent in our phase 1. So if you remember the previous slide, in phase 1. But we are focusing on now the other 3 streams going forward from phase 2 and on our ongoing calls and also in our future work program. The streams interact with each other in what we call a spiral. So what we expect is that the outcomes, for example, from stream A, will be actually then reused in the large-scale trials and pilots with verticals. Or, for example, some of the platforms built in a Stream C project, which are experimental infrastructures, can be then used and built upon again in the large-scale trials. So it's not a kind of a linear, but more kind of a spiral system when research and infrastructure outcomes are being reused in later projects. And this is a very, very high-level summary of the SNS JU projects so far. So the first call of projects is well already on the way. They have started at the beginning of 2023. In total, 35 projects and 250 million euros of EU funding commitment. Now, what I would emphasize is that our calls are open. We do have a clear KPI to involve SMEs. And in the first call, we have had 18% of the funding going to SMEs, which increased to 25% in the second call. The openness is also visible in, of course, having a close collaboration and as a membership of the 6G IA, but actually only about 66 and 68% of the funding goes to these members. The rest is actually entirely open. I have mentioned already that it's very important for us to work closely and include closely verticals and develop research in collaboration with them. So in the first call, it was more focused on media and communication, which we felt is a gap that should be addressed in the second call of projects, where we have more projects related to automotive, but also e-health, smart cities solutions. And I think this is the moment when I would invite all of you to maybe look at your phones or laptops or other devices and type smart-networks.europa.eu, smart-networks.europa.eu, and check out the winners of our second call for projects. These projects will start early next year, and we have just announced the winners. It is 27 winning projects, predominantly in the area of revolutionary 6G research, and 130 million euros of EU funding commitment. I would also invite you to stay tuned on this website that I have already, now that you know it. We will be launching our next work program, setting out our plans and strategic priorities around mid-November. And we are planning to open the third call of projects early 2024, which will then start and kick off in 2025. So in a nutshell, these were this was an overview of the European path and plans towards the development of 6G. And I think some of the kind of thoughts that stood out just in conclusion is that we are really trying to build a shared vision of 6G, really based on societal needs, political priorities, and also the needs and competitiveness of European businesses. We strive to learn from the 5G experience and build in the learnings throughout the process. We take an ecosystem view. It takes time to nurture and develop ecosystems, so we must start early with 6G. Collaboration is really the building pillar of our work, collaboration between private and public sectors, but also international collaboration. And we should not be naive. We need to understand throughout our research activities the future trade-offs that will guide decision-making going forward, both in Europe and on the international scene. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Erzsebet.